Thank you. And plus all the hours that I put in picking these jokes. Into these jokes, guys. So, you know. So I've got 4 of them for you. All right. We had to do ab work yesterday, so I might have to laugh so hard my abs are going to hurt. All right, so here we go. What is fast, loud, and crunchy?
Not me.
And it kind of goes with what's going to happen tonight. It's a rocket ship.
Wait, rocket ship is black?
All right, number 2. Number 2. Why did the teddy bear say no desserts, please? What was that?
Stop.
Because he was stuffed.
That was horrible.
Number 3, nobody's going to guess this one. Nobody's going to guess this one. What is brown, hairy, and wears sunglasses?
Travis
Mannequin.
A coconut on vacation.
That's enough.
Jacob, can you do the... One more time. Here we go. Number 4, last one. Last one. Why do teenage girls travel in odd-numbered groups?
Because they're weird. Because they're weird.
Yes, because they can't get on. Why do teenage girls travel in odd-numbered groups? Because they can't even. Awesome.
I just can't even.
All right, we're getting ready to go live. So when we go live, you guys need to make some noise. I know we're excited to be here and just have some ice cream cake. It doesn't get much better than that.
Wait, why don't we record the joke?
I don't know why we didn't do them on. We should have. I know they're missing.
I guess we can do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Take 2. Let's go, yeah. Take 2, run it back.
We're live. We're live. Okay. Hello, Instagram Live. Welcome to Renewal Youth Group Night. Give it up for Renewal Youth. All right. That was a little bit. So sorry you guys missed out. We did the jokes already. I know. It'll be okay. You'll get over it. We'll have it again next week. What's that?
Catch it on YouTube.
Catch it on YouTube. There you go. It's always on YouTube. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with our amazing worship team. So if everyone could please stand up so we can worship the Lord.
Thank you.
us here, we continue this series called Stretch. We're talking about stretching our faith. We've already talked about making a commitment to stretch our faith, and we've talked about starting something new. And today we're going to talk about letting something go. So open our hearts, open our minds. In your name we pray. Amen.
Hey Deb, I hope it's okay. I took Catherine's mic. Is that good? Okay. All right. Awesome. So just a reminder from last week, what we talked about before we came into the sanctuary is that how your attitude changes from when you're outside to when you cross through those doors, and how you should act when you're in here. So just remember that, what we talked about. Okay, we're ready. So we're back.
We are.
Yep.
So, last week, like I said before, we talked a lot about habits, the good ones.
The really good ones.
The good ones.
Stretching our faith.
So this week, we're going to talk about our bad habits. So whether it's biting our nails, daydreaming, checking on gossip,
Non-stop
playing
checking of
games,
notifications on your phone.
which we've already talked about, and that's not going to happen. So,
So those are some bad habits. Do any of you guys have some like weird, quirky, funny, kind of weird bad habits? Anybody? Yes.
Ew, that's nasty.
Go ahead, say it again. He rips his clothes. It looks like you're kind of twirling them all the time. He twirls them like a nervous habit, and it ends up ripping the shorts. I'm sure your mom loves that. Okay. Any other weird, quirky habits?
So whenever I can't land a trick on my skateboard, I usually get super mad. I tend to throw it. Like I just chuck it.
Yeah.
Hey, I just pounded
And
it
I'm sure
down.
your mom loves that.
I know, right?
Gracious.
and the people around them.
Okay, excuse me. I'm going to get right over here to Mr. Travis.
I tend to pound on my desk a lot.
Oh, okay, pounding on desk. I was a former teacher, and I know all about that.
I move things around my room, like I will move my bed from one spot to another in like less than like a month every time. And I can't keep it done.
Okay. All the time moving furniture. Interesting. So when we need to move, we'll call you. Okay, there we go. Any other habits anybody wants to
Who chews on
share?
their nails?
Bites nails. Great. Okay.
Who chews on their feet?
Ooh, no, I don't want to know that.
Wait, so you're serious?
What happened?
I don't want to know that.
That was like a total joke.
Okay. What do we have?
I used to swallow gum.
Oh, swallow gum. That's a habit. That is a habit. Yep. It's just a habit. It's probably not very healthy. I don't know.
Who chews on
You
their
know.
pens? Chew on
So-
their pens.
Shoes on pens. Or the eraser on your pencil.
I used to rip my erasers off of my pencil and then flatten out the metal
Oh,
part,
you were one of those kids.
and then we did
Okay.
pencil wars.
Again, I was a former teacher. I know all about that. Yeah. Okay.
One last one. Are you gonna have to yell it out though? Hold on. Never mind. What do you mean never mind? You can't say never mind.
He said I like to smash.
So think about all your bad habits that you have. Has anybody ever thought, you know what, I could stop that if I wanted to. I just don't want to. Right? You're probably thinking that, yeah? All right, so I need a boy volunteer and a girl volunteer.
Oh, Nick. Go. Colby,
First boy was one of those.
Colby, raise his hand first.
Go up there. Just go.
Alright, Colby it is.
Okay, Colby and Anna. So, what we're going to do is we're going to knock those bad habits out. Okay? So I've got bad habits written on all of these cups. They're the same bad habits written on 2 sets of cups. We've got, thank you, Lauren, rolling of the eyes.
Ooh, hold on. You may ever sit in that end chair? You may ever sit in that end chair?
So we've got rolling of the eyes. We've got,
Yes, from a parent standpoint, it's definitely.
yes, definitely a bad habit. Popping gum. Here's another one. Late night snacking.
Oh, this one's mine.
How about binge watching?
This one's also mine.
Binge watching. Posting on social media. Oh, I see some heads going down on that one. Okay.
Oh, here's one.
This is me. I will admit I fell down the rabbit hole. Totally went there and I cannot find the bottom. I'm stuck. I'm addicted. It's my bad habit. TikTok. Right there. TikTok.
Alright, now let me clarify. She just watches them. She does not make it.
No. I only watch. I'm like addicted to everything. Okay, so playing games on your phone. That's also me and Mr. Ken.
Oh, I just smacked the camera.
Watching too many videos. Watching too many videos. Always checking notifications.
That's me all day.
And biting fingernails. Okay, so we're going to set these up in a pyramid.
Pyramid? Okay.
Yeah, pyramid. Why not? All right. So we'll do 5 on the bottom.
What is
I take notes and then I give him my notes.
Okay, believe it or not, I say this with a heavy heart. We're going to give Anna and Colby rubber bands.
Never get
That's what it is.
So they're going to try to knock out,
Guys.
listen, they're going to try to knock out our bad habits. So where do we want them to stand?
No, we'll have them sit in their chairs. That way
sit
they're.
in their chairs.
All right, so you already lost one. So hold on. You guys just firing off there. You only have 10 rubber bands.
10 rubber bands to knock
There are
all
10
of
cups.
them.
So go for it. Go ahead. Do what you can. Just a bit outside.
Chloe, this is disrespectful.
Hey, put it around your.
You supposed to.
Okay, there. Oh,
man. She set it down inside of the other one.
Well, just put it like this and wrap it around.
Come on, Colby.
Oh my god.
Ready, set, aim, fire.
Come on, you guys are in school, man. You should be like back shots with rubber bands.
Oh man. You put things in your like
Come on.
She nicked it, but it didn't knock it
So
over.
close,
It
yet
nicked it
so
under the-
far away.
Oh!
Oh, okay, there you go. We only got 5 left.
Use your Fortnite skills, kid.
Come on, cheer them on, guys. Their time. Uh-oh.
No, you can't. She can't reshoot that one.
Come on, Colby. One more.
Are you out?
Left, Colby.
I bet there's 365 minutes.
Come on, Colby.
Well, he's about
Think about all those bots. Yeah.
All right, so how did we do?
Good try. Good try. Let me have that
All
back.
right, so Colby got 1 extra.
Colby.
All right.
Okay. See, it would be nice.
Don't want
It would be really nice if we could stop our bad habits as, well, almost as easy as it was to fling rubber bands at it. Thank you, Colby. Thank you, Anna. We appreciate it.
Hey Colby, all 300 of your Fortnite you've been preparing. I know, then you messed up.
But her 400 Fortnite levels were better.
Okay.
Hey, you need to clean up your stage. It's a
Yeah,
mess.
it's a mess. Catherine? Gosh. All right.
I say we leave it up there for Sunday. Just don't say anything. Just leave it up for Sunday.
See Amanda come on.
Moving on. All right.
So we can talk.
All right. So, all right, let me get everyone's attention. All right, so we're short a good handful of leaders. So we are, instead of breaking into small groups, we're just going to do it as group discussions. Oh, I know. So we're going to put the questions up, and we'll talk about it as a larger group. So, hey.
Or you can talk to your shoulder partner.
Yeah. So, but we need to. All right, hang on. I see a lot of talking going on, and it's not your turn to talk. All right. I will separate people. I kid you not. We're a big group. Guys in the back. We're a big group. If I need to boy, girl this, we will do it. Yeah, I already see people shaking their head no, so we already know you don't like that. So I will totally do it if you guys get out of control. Y'all understand? All right, so we're just going to do this as a discussion. We're going to keep it low. And we're going to do one question at a time. All right, first question. So what's the weirdest habit you have?
And we kind of already talked about this, right?
We talked about bad habits.
Bad habits.
What's your weirdest habit?
Besides sucking on your toes,
No, he chews on his toes.
Chews on his toes. Sorry, chew. Like that's better.
All right.
Weird
What's that? Puns?
puns.
You say a lot of puns?
Puns.
I do that. I do movie quotes. I'm bad about movie quotes.
He's horrible about movie quotes. He'll say movie quotes, and I'm looking at him like, what? I don't understand the words that are coming out of your mouth.
All right, hold on.
I'm a little bubble and I'm popping with my fingers.
Blowing bubbles and popping them with your fingers. Lauren, I saw your hand up.
I'm old. I have to do that. So.
Mr. Kent, our son, our oldest one, Harrison, he'll come downstairs and he'll just be walking, and all of a sudden he'll stop by a chair and just turn and just.
It's like an owl, except he does it with his back. Because he's like, his torso is like facing the wrong direction and just spins like all the way around.
And I'm like, oh my.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, exactly like that. Except you can hear every single, it just, everything cracks.
Now somebody brought up something up here about sucking on your thumb. Did anybody when you were little, when you were younger, suck on your thumb? Yeah? Yep. So,
I used to rock him to go to sleep.
Yeah, rocking. My
I lay
brother.
on my side, just rock a little bit, and that's how I would go to sleep.
My brother, it didn't even have to be going to sleep. He would be sitting in a chair, just sitting in a chair, and all of a sudden he's rocking. That's what he did. It was his bad habit. I don't know, it was weird habit, I should say. Weird habit, sorry, David.
You got another one? Oh. Your sister does.
Okay,
Right?
let's
You're
hear it out.
calling her out. Like people.
Cameron did
Yeah,
that.
my daughter, she was a biter when she was little, so, and I got tired of it because she bit really hard, so I would play the biting game with her. So she would bite me, I'm like, oh, we're playing the biting game, so I would bite her back, harder. And then she would bite me harder, and then I would bite her harder. And we would go back and forth till she finally goes, okay, we're done playing. Like she would bite me so hard, her head would start shaking.
Yeah, that's not written in any parenting book that I know of, so, you know, take that with a grain of salt.
All right, Blaze has got another one.
You might use the headbutt. So like pull from the middle of our
There you go.
No, I didn't.
Hey, Harrison and I used to do that too.
That's what happened.
That's what it is. All right, any other weird habits? What you got?
Whenever like I feel tension on my
You get one more try.
Crack your toes. Crack your toe up.
Krakatoa. Yes.
What's that? Annoy your brother?
I get in trouble every time.
Yeah, you know, I perfected that weird habit when I was young. I had an older brother. Perfected that one.
It's not a bad habit, that's an instinct.
All right. So let's go on to the next
All
question.
right, next one. All right, so if you could wave a magic wand and permanently change one of your habits or behaviors, what would it be? Oh, Macy's got one. Letting people go that are toxic.
Oh,
Wow.
if
Man,
we
you
could all do that.
just jumped right on in there, didn't you?
Wait, being
All
toxic?
right, ready to hand
Having
it
a
back?
habit to be tall.
What's that?
enjoy being
Oh, hold on.
Having a habit to be tall. Yeah, I'm short.
He's happy being short.
All right, so we're gonna have to relay that one up because
I enjoy being tall. I don't know what you
Xbox lobbies in 2015.
all right, settle down, guys, or we can't hear people in the back.
Oh, so he's short. So he would wave the magic wand so he could be tall.
I want to be tall.
See? Okay.
All right, Blaze, you got one. Procrastination.
What? That's fun.
More of it or less of it?
Paula, procrastination. I'm really good at that.
All right, guys, settle down.
I thought that was normal. No? Only when you're nervous? Okay.
Hi.
What happens?
When I get nervous, I talk a lot.
That's what
She
I
gets
do.
nervous, she talks a lot. So you babble? Do you babble? Or you just kind of just keep going on and on and on and on and on and on?
I never got nervous.
When you watch White Men,
And I talk with my hands. So the microphone's good because it actually ties up in my hands.
So I'm from Louisiana, and there's this, like, it's not a joke, it's just something people say. Where I'm from, people are referred to as Cajuns, because Cajun, French, whole area, Cajun. And they said if you ever want to shut a Cajun up, tie their hands behind their back, because we can't talk without our hands.
Wait, what?
Which
Works for Italians too.
Works for Italians too. So, one of my bad habits that I've already talked about is TikTok. I scroll through. I'm obsessed with DIY projects.
All right,
I'm-
hey, there's a lot of chatter going on.
It's okay, because, you know, we're gonna separate them, so,
Oh, is that what we're gonna do that?
well, if they keep up,
Oh, okay.
right? Right, so, I scroll through DIY projects, baking stuff, and just all kinds of things, and I'll lose like hours of my day, and I'm thinking, what did I just do? absolutely nothing, but that's what I do. Is something that happens to me. One of my more serious bad habits that I still struggle with is overeating. Like I eat too much. It's a habit that I have. So I try to, as much as I can. But there's Publix cupcakes out there. How am I supposed to like say no to that?
So I work from home. So for me, it's tough because I'll put like on like Netflix and just throw some kind of series on or something, just let it run in the background for background noise. And that's not really my bad habit. My bad habit is while I'm doing that and I'm working or whatever, is I snack a lot. So not really overeating, but all throughout the day I'm always looking for something. So that's something I really have to consciously stop myself from doing.
It's been there for like 5 seconds, it says, right? Yeah, understood. It was just there. It's there. Yeah. So like biting your nails or constantly checking your phone, isn't going to have an impact on your faith or your spiritual health. But there are some bad habits that can prevent your faith from actually growing. So some things are really, really bad habits that prevent our faith from growing. So we're going to read a few scenarios. And as soon as you hear or see the one pop up on the screen that applies to you.
I don't know if you did a slide for that.
Oh, did I not do a slide?
Oh, maybe you did. I just didn't write it down.
Look, I did. The doubt that was in
I said,
this
I
slide.
don't know if you did.
Oh,
I didn't.
yeah.
Right?
Thank you,
But
Samina.
it's the same thing. I didn't say you didn't do one, did I?
But the way he said it, the tone that he said it. Okay, so the minute you hear it or see it pop up on the screen, I want you to stand up. Okay? So this is honesty in its truest form. Are we ready? All right. First one. You've ever held a grudge? If I wasn't standing, I would be standing now.
Man, we like nailed almost everyone. with
I
that
know,
one.
right? Okay. Have a seat. Thank you, everyone. The next one,
Okay.
because everybody stood up.
Yeah, because, well, there was a couple that.
Well,
Stay
it's
there.
okay. So here we go. Next one. There's someone you just can't stand. Oh, that's just about everybody in the room.
It's Trevin.
All right.
Just about everyone. Sit down.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and sit down. Thank you. Next one.
If you've ever struggled to forgive someone.
Again, if I wasn't standing up, I would be standing.
All right, take a
Well,
seat.
here's Lauren. I should just not even sit down.
All right, how about you sometimes, sorry.
Or if
You
you ever
struggled to ask for forgiveness.
struggle to ask for forgiveness.
Lauren, you're ugly.
Okay, a little fewer people. I think the younger you are, the easier it is to ask for forgiveness. Like, Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I'm sorry.
All right, how about you sometimes do things that hurt others or yourself and can't seem to stop? It doesn't necessarily mean physically.
No,
So,
doesn't have to be physically.
yep, there we go. All right, take a seat.
Have a seat. Here's the last one. Here's the last one. You make time for movies and video games, but struggle to make time for God.
All right, go ahead and take a seat. All right, so the Bible uses the word sin to talk about bad habits that harm us spiritually. And it reminds us that we're all prone to mistakes and failures. So we all have room to grow. So we've already talked how we can stretch our faith by making it. All right, so we've already talked how we can stretch our faith by making a commitment or starting a new habit. So today we're going to talk about stretching our faith by letting something go. So kind of like we did with the rubber bands.
So letting it go. So we're going to pretend to be Elsa. Elsa? Yeah. Elsa. So we've been looking at a letter written by Paul to the Christians who lived in Rome, hence the book of Romans. It was about 2,000 years ago. So in this letter, which we now call the book of Romans, he wrote how we could find salvation through Jesus and how God's salvation impacts not just our eternities, but it impacts what's happening right now. So last week we read the first part of chapter 12 in the book of Romans, and we're going to finish that chapter today, but we're going to just kind of review chapter 12, verses 1 through 2.
And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behaviors and customs of the world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect.
So the key word in this verse that we're going to focus on is the word transform. Because transformation, that's the goal, okay? Following Jesus isn't just a prayer. We pray once and then we just kind of forget about it. Stretching and growing our faith goes hand in hand with life change. So as followers of Jesus, Paul said we shouldn't look or act like everyone else because God should be transforming us from the inside out.
And only God can transform us. But there are some things we can do that make it easier for God's transformation to take place.
So last week we read about a bunch of new habits that a bunch of new habits Paul said we can start. Habits that help us love other people well and help grow our faith too. So now let's take a look at what else Paul had to say about how we can stretch our faith. So this is from the book of Romans, chapter 12, verses 16 through 21.
All right, live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people. And don't think you know it all. Never pay back evil with more evil. Do things in such a way that everyone can see you are honorable. Do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Dear friends, never take revenge. Leave that to the righteous anger of God. For the scriptures say, I will take revenge, I will pay them back, says the Lord. Instead, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals of shame on their heads. Don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good.
So in this, Paul gives us a pretty extensive list of some things that we need to let go of so that we can actually grow our faith. And the things that he talked about that we need to let go of are such as being proud. well, we should say overly proud, like to where it's obnoxious, right? So you can be proud that you got an A on a test, but if you go around shouting it out and shoving it in everybody's face, that's going a little overboard.
When you gloat.
Gloat. No gloating. Being know-it-alls. He very clearly said, don't act like you know it all, because you don't. So don't act like it. Holding grudges. Everybody, almost everybody stood up when we talked about holding grudges. It's hard to let that go, but that's one of the things that will prevent us from growing in our faith. Looking for revenge. Guilty as charged. Sometimes I just wish that things would happen to people. Even little things like when I'm driving and somebody speeds past me, cuts in front of me, and they're all through, and we end up at this light at the same time, and I just kind of chuckle.
And they're right next to you and
And
you
they're
look
right
at them.
next, so I'm like, because it's funny, it's like a revenge for you being stupid kind of thing, right? So let that go, and then
Or
let it.
when they do that and the cop is actually there and they flip the lights on. Oh, justice.
But we're letting that go.
Oh.
We're letting it go. Okay? Don't make me start singing. Letting sin control us. That's a huge one, because it's something that happens to all of us. With the overeating that I have, I often think about, the 7 deadly sins, and gluttony is one of them, and that's basically overeating. So, got to learn to let that go.
So there are a lot of don'ts in this part of Paul's letter. Depending on your personality, these don'ts might affect you differently. So maybe you like being told what not to do because it gives you clear directions. Right? So if someone tells you don't do this, then you know that's the boundary. So maybe I didn't click the buttons, right? Maybe you immediately want to rebel because you don't like being told what to do. How many of you, when someone, or like your parents tell you to do something and you like do the exact opposite? Oh yeah, a bunch of hands come on up.
I'm glad that wasn't one of our stand activities.
Wait, I'll just- All right, so maybe you feel ashamed or hopeless because you're not sure how to stop doing some of the things Paul said not to do.
Yeah, that would apply to me. All right, so again, we're not going to do small group discussions. We'll just go ahead and talk amongst ourselves. So we're going to have our group discussion. And there's only one question. So how do you usually react when someone it's a two-parter. So
we'll do the first part. And then
We'll do the first part. We'll do the first part.
We'll do the first part.
So how do you usually react when someone tells you not to do something?
Okay.
Yep.
Bro. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, normally when I get told not to do something, I make sure in every single step that I don't do it. Even if it's just ROTC or something and now I'm wearing headphones, I make sure that I don't do it just because I'm so scared. It's I'll mess up and I'm nope.
Cool.
So you're one of the ones that likes, because that gives you a path to follow. All right.
A very scary path, but a path.
I do the exact opposite.
Shocked.
What a rebel.
That is it.
Oh, and with no hesitation.
They tell me not to jump.
Looking the person in the eye while you do it.
Right.
It depends on the person and what they're telling me not to do.
So it depends.
Okay. Maybe you'll go along with it if your parents tell you, but maybe not somebody else.
So
My thing-
someone you respect, you might listen to it. If someone you don't respect,
My thing is, I question, well, why not? Why can't I do that?
Yeah, for me, it's if I don't think it's reasonable, then I don't think I should do it. So I don't do it.
So you don't do it. Okay,
so
it's not
you have your
reasonable.
own compass, and if it doesn't fall within where you want it to go, then it's. All right. Anyone else?
All right, so here's the deep question, the second part of the question. Do you feel the same way when that don't comes from God?
Oh,
So think about when you were in Sunday school, when you were little. And, you don't do this because that tells you in the Bible, don't do this, don't do that. How did that make you feel? Does it change anything when it's coming from the Bible, coming from God?
I used to, and then I got what was coming to me, so I don't anymore.
that's pretty good.
Okay. Thank you for being so honest,
All
Brooke.
right. How about this? For those of you that are dating or have dated, what if God said, "Don't date that person"?
Because there are clear signs.
There are
Clear signs that are muddied when you're in the relationship that other people are saying.
Sometimes your friends are like going, there's a few red flags there.
And then
But
you also have that feeling in the pit of your stomach that you know it's not right. And that's not coming from anybody, that's coming from intuition from God.
So, how about that one? That you've dated someone that you knew you were probably really shouldn't have. You dated the bad boy or girl.
Guilty as charged. All right. So the problem with a long list of don'ts, like when somebody says, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, is that it can sometimes make us feel lost. It can leave us feeling lost. When we're told all the ways we shouldn't talk, we shouldn't react, we shouldn't treat people, it might leave us wondering, well, then what should I do? How should I respond when I'm hurt, when I'm angry, when I'm frustrated? I don't want to let sin control me, but how do I make it stop?
All right, so who's seen the movie Gravity?
With Sandra Bullock. Astronaut movie. Astronaut movie.
Probably like 5 years.
In your terms, yes, it's an old movie.
It's only like 5 years old. All right. So, this movie Gravity, there's these astronauts, and so there's a scene where what's her name again? Sandra Bullock.
Dr.
Dr.
Ryan Stone is.
She's an astronaut. She's on a spacewalk, and so she's in Earth's orbit, and the satellite she's repairing is hit by like debris. Hey, do I need to separate you guys? All right. So the satellite's hit by debris, and she's knocked loose, and she's just spinning off into space. So she's hanging on to a piece of this satellite, and she's just tumbling out into space. So her partner is telling her to let go of this piece that she's holding on to, or she'll be launched deep into space.
And they won't be able to get her. Yeah.
So for her, it's terrifying, but she finally lets go.
Movie clip. Movie clip.
Mission specialist Ryan Stone, lost structure and drifting. Do you copy?
No, she would take that Christian.
Anyone?
Ejected. not the imposter.
Back to Earth.
Oh, what happens?
Gosh.
I heard an interesting, hey, I heard an interesting comment. What did you say? No, before that. You said, swim for your life. Would that work? No. Because there's no atmosphere, there's nothing to push against. So she's just tumbling out into space. So just think about that. I want to stop talking for a second. I want you to picture this, that you're floating. There's nothing you can do about it, and you're tumbling. So like, if you get motion sick on the ground, imagine you're just tumbling, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do to stop yourself from spinning. You're just out of control. And then on top of that, you're having in your display, I don't know if you could really see it in the screen there, but her oxygen was low. You can tell that her windscreen was cracked. Right? So she's running out of air, and there's nothing she can do about that. She's tumbling, and she's floating away from everything, and she's disconnected.
Hey, can we watch that movie next week?
So sometimes we feel like that when we're dealing with a problem.
Or sometimes we feel like that with our bad habits, because sometimes our bad habits are comforting to us. Sometimes our weird habits are comforting to us, like the rocking or the chewing on a pen or biting your nails. Those are comforting. And when we try to stop that, when we try to let go of that, sometimes we can feel like we're just tumbling, we're losing it, we're out of control because we don't have that comfort level. So when that happens, we are desperate to hang on to something. We're calling for someone to help us. Please help us. Houston, come in. Anybody. So that's what happens.
And sometimes we just rely back on that bad habit.
Right.
Because that's what we grab onto. So if she wanted to survive, Stone had to let go of the thing that was sending her spiraling into space.
I.e. your bad habit.
Bad habit. But when she finally let go, she realized letting go was only the first step. After she let go, she was desperate to find something else to hang on to. Right? So she can't grab anything. Well, after that, what is she trying to do? She's trying to call out. She's trying to call out for a partner. She's trying to call out to people on the ground. People on the ground wouldn't be able to do anything.
Right.
So she's trying to find something else to grab onto.
So in our life, when we're spinning out of control, when we don't know what to do, when there's no one around to help us and we're calling out, we need to call out to God. So with the whole overeating thing that I continue to work on, one thing that has helped me, has comforted me, is I have 2 verses that are taped to my monitors at work. And they refer to our body as a temple and how we should respect God with our body. So those are the kinds of things that help me get through that overeating. It's something that I have to work on every single day. Sometimes I do feel out of control with it. Sometimes I feel good about it. Sometimes I'm like, yes, I got this. I did this today. Next day may not be so great, but you still work on it, right?
So we've all had to deal with a lot of bad habits, and they teach us an important lesson about faith. If you want to grow, you have to let go of what's pulling you away from God so you can grab onto something that will bring you closer.
Right. So with that in mind, let's look back at the passage we just read, or we're just going to reference back to it, because I think Paul understood this well. You see, Paul didn't only give us a list of don'ts in the verses that we read. He also gave us a list of,
We were supposed to.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All right,
Yay.
time to stretch. Everybody up? All right. Everybody needs to find an open spot on the floor. It can be anywhere. You will need
It can
room.
be down the aisles, it can be up here,
Not between chairs. You won't have enough room.
not between chairs, you won't have
So
enough room.
in the aisleways across the
Grace,
front.
you're not gonna be able to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Grace.
Trust me on
Sorry,
this
you won't be
one.
able to do
Grace.
this one.
Spread out, you're gonna need lots of
You can
room.
do it while you're sitting. All right, you're going to need some space around everyone else, so make sure you're not too close to anybody. Hey, you guys are too close together. You won't be able to do this. See, if you put your arms out and you touch somebody, you're too close. You need to find another spot. All right. All right, you guys ready? All right. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. All right, Miss Paula is actually going to try and do this. I'm going to come stand up as well, just to get out of the way. Alrighty, so everybody's got a spot? Okay, here we go. So, we're not going to do Sally up. Well, I heard a few ahs. I might have to bring Sally up now. We are going to do the Cha-Cha Slide Plank Challenge. All right, everybody, down into a plank. So there's all the screens. Just find a screen where you can see. All right, listen. All right, touch your shoulders, touch your shoulders. I'm going to turn the sound up so we can hear it better. All right, go to the left. Go back. All right, pop your feet in, back out. Left foot out. Right foot up. All right. There you go. I'm going to turn the music up. Cha-chas, do your feet. All right, hold your plank. There you go. Nice, Austin. All right, hold your plank, hold your plank. 2 hops. 2 hops. Left foot. Oh, left foot, that was right foot. Hands on knees, touch your knees. Alternate, touch your knees. All right, cha-cha. Come on, Blaze, you can do it. You're like totally in shape, man. 5 hops, 5 hops. Left foot, right foot. Do it again. Right foot, left foot. Everybody clap your hands. All right, there you go. All right, we cut it off. Yeah, we didn't do the whole 7-minute song. That was only 2.5 minutes. All right, grab your seat, guys. You guys did that in the gym?
Did it? It's my workout. Did the whole thing?
Did you break a sweat?
That's a full decade's worth of work.
All right, what do you guys think about that one?
Did you do it?
You didn't see it? Well, I told you, there's 4 screens.
That's my chair.
Yeah, it was very low, I could barely hear.
Yeah, I had to run it back. Turn it up.
Yeah. Okay,
All right.
so we talked about grabbing onto something to bring you closer to God when you're letting go of things. So with that in mind, like I said, we're going to look kind of back at what Paul said because he gave us a whole list of don'ts. But he also gave us a list of do's. So Paul said to let go of being proud. We already talked about this. He said let go of being proud, being know-it-alls, holding grudges, looking for revenge, and letting sin control us. So in their place, Paul gave us some things that we needed to actually do, some positive things.
So you got humility. So instead of being proud, work on being humble. Compassion. You know, if you're a know-it-all, then you're not really looking at what the other person is saying or feeling or thinking. So if you have compassion, that will combat that whole you know everything about a subject or all the subjects or whatever. Integrity. So you got to turn around, if you're holding a grudge against somebody, you got to also remember that, you aren't perfect either. So you need to realize that, if you look at your integrity, then you can realize that there's things that you need to work on that'll help you let go of that grudge. Peacemaking.
Yeah, so peacemaking. So instead of looking for revenge, so that guy that's cutting me off in traffic and I'm hoping that the cops are there, or I'm hoping he's going to get that red light, instead of that, maybe I should just pray that he's safe and that he's able to get where he's going safely.
We're actually, bless you.
Bless you.
We're actually on our way home from CrossFit last night, and I get up to this red light, and this van pulls up next to me in the left turn lane. Our light's red, traffic's going across, and all of a sudden he just goes. I'm like, did he think that light was green? But he didn't take a left. He went straight. And I'm like, what in the world is going on with this guy? After a little bit, light turns green, move up, I see him again. He was stuck by a couple cars, and the next light, he sort of wiggled his way, it's red, all of a sudden he just goes. I'm like, what in the world? This is down 436, so it's like a big road. And I'm watching this guy. I get to the light, I'm taking a left, so I'm stuck at a red, and I'm watching this guy. Every time he gets to a red light, he works his way and then just shoots across and keeps going. And at first I was aggravated. I'm like, what? Who does this guy think he is? But then I realized, I'm like, you know what? Maybe his wife's pregnant, and she's having contractions, and he's trying to get her to the hospital, because that's the direction he's headed. Now, not necessarily the safest thing to do, but that's where you got to turn around and not let something like that aggravate you or get you mad, and you realize that maybe there's some kind of emergency or something like that going on. So instead of letting sin control us, we can work on goodness. So this one's a tough one, because letting sin control us, that could be anything. Being mad at somebody. So it's not necessarily holding a grudge. Holding a grudge is keeping it long term, just being mad and wishing something bad happens to somebody, not necessarily revenge. But all these different things, focus on the good side of it to try and combat what you're struggling with. That's a real tough one.
Right, so Paul wrote this letter because he wanted to see his fellow Jesus followers grab onto what God wanted for them. But before they could do that, he knew that they needed to let go of those harmful things that they were holding on to. So letting go of bad habits is not easy. Whether it's your weird ones, your bad ones, it's not easy. It's a pretty difficult stretch. On our own, we're not good at choosing to do what's good sometimes, or what's right, or what's helpful, or even Christ-like. So aren't you glad that you're kind of not alone?
Remember the exercise where we had everyone stand up? And, we're only supposed to be a few people, but most everyone stood up on every single one. And if you turn around and you think about it, if that's something that you dealt with, you realize everyone else is going through the same thing. So you're not alone.
Right, you're not alone. Going back to our previous series, this is our squad. We're not alone. Okay? So if you know Jesus, This isn't a battle you need to fight on your own. God's Spirit lives within you and gives you the power to let go of the habits and the behaviors that are holding you back so you can grab on to something new. Through Jesus, you can be transformed. And you're just holding it and just not pressing any of the buttons.
No,
Nothing. Okay.
nothing.
All right.
So if you, I was trying to read ahead.
Okay.
So if you
Can't
want
do
to
two things at one time. That's another thing.
no. So if you want to see your faith stretch and grow stronger, the good news is that you can. Like our astronaut, Dr. Stone, she let go. So detach from the habits that are pulling you away from God so you can grab onto new habits that will pull you close again. You can stretch your faith by letting something go.
Okay, so now we're going to have our group discussion. So this is it's a two-question. They kind of go together, but it's two questions. Okay. So which of these is the hardest for you to let go of, and why? So we have being proud, the know-it-all, holding a grudge, looking for revenge, or letting sin control you.
Let's do it by hands.
Okay, that's
All
a good
right.
idea.
Let's do it by hands. All right, so who thinks it's the hardest of letting go of being proud?
Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. How about being a know-it-all? Brooke is so proud. She's proud of being a know-it-all.
Just keep your
All
hands
right.
up.
So how about holding a grudge? Oh. You got to pick one. Which one's the hardest?
All the above.
All of them.
All of them.
All of the above, yes.
All right. Looking for revenge.
Actually, this one might be the
All right. And letting sin control you. Actually, that one's pretty broad. I think everyone probably needs to just
and
raise their
probably
hand.
everybody's hands should go over that one. So, to counteract that, which one of these do you most want to grab onto? So we've got humility.
All right, so who, to fix your being proud, who wants to grab onto humility? Ooh, that's a tough one. No one's interested in that.
How
It's
about,
tough being humble.
because some people see it as weak.
Yeah, being humble is not weak.
It is not weak.
It is not a weakness.
Yeah.
What's that? Yes, humility and humble. Those are.
Yep. And then compassion. How many of you want to grab onto compassion?
Be more compassionate.
To be more compassionate.
Okay. Got a associate over here.
I'm a little worried that nobody wants to change.
All right.
How about integrity? Integrity is basically doing what you say you're going to do, being forthright, and
Like good moral standards.
yeah.
Exactly. Doing. Okay.
What she said in here.
She said doing what's right even when no one's looking.
Thank you. I think that's a quote somewhere.
Put that down.
How
Because you're not disrupting just here, but everyone behind you is seeing that.
How about grabbing on to peacemaking? Okay.
Got a double hand.
Okay. I'm sensing that would come in handy in school. I don't
Yes.
know why. Again, as a teacher. I don't know. I feel like something. Okay. And the last one, goodness. Grabbing on to goodness. These are hard. These are hard. I don't know. Because they're all like something I would want to grab, something that I need to grab onto, I should say. Yes. Okay, so changing any habit, like we said, is hard because our habits are things that we do automatically without even thinking about it. So when you talk with your hands, if you say that's your bad habit, you do it, you don't even think about it, it just happens. But although our habits are automatic, they don't need to be permanent. Okay, we can let them go.
All right, so one of the things we can do when we're trying to break a habit is to seek accountability. So we have to get clear about which behavior we want to let go of and ask others to help us. So you guys understand what accountability is? All right?
Someone says you're being held accountable.
So you got to find someone that's going to redirect you, and they realize that you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, and you've asked them, hey, don't let me do this. If you see me doing this or saying this, stop me.
So for example, with my overeating, I expect Mr. Ken to hold me accountable. If I'm overeating, he needs to say, hey babe, do you really need to eat that? Not in a mean way. He's holding me accountable. Right?
I'll just, we have an app that we use to count our macros.
Right.
And
And is that in your numbers?
is that in your numbers?
Is that in your numbers? No.
Because really, you can eat whatever as long as it's in your numbers.
And
So,
he
like,
knows
you wanna eat
not to,
pizza, eat pizza.
he knows if I say no and I don't care, he's like, oh,
Drop it.
it's fine. So he knows when not to push.
Do not lose a limb over that.
Right. So,
So all right, so we're talking about being accountable. So we can't be accountable to ourselves until we get specific about what we want to change. All right. So this goes back. We've talked about this a couple times. You know, if you want to make a change, you can't make a huge, drastic change. And I'm going to make this huge change in my life because it's never going to happen. Go small. Pick something small to fix. Get that. Work on it, and then once you have that, and it's not an issue anymore, then you can work on something else. If you try and pick something that's too big, like I said, end world hunger.
I can do that.
or it just has to be.
So how are you going to end world hunger? Well, that's too big of a problem. All right, so what if you shrink it down and let's say, okay, well, I'll work with the church and we'll pack food and take that to people. That's something a little easier.
Yeah, it definitely has to be realistic. I mean, if I think about my overeating all of my life, most of the time my first reaction is, I'm just not going to eat. I just won't eat. Well, that lasts probably about a half a day, and then I'm starving and I eat everything. So you have to be realistic. So now we have our macros. I have numbers. It's not that I can't eat. It's just I have to stay within a boundary. There's boundaries that are set. I'm not starving myself. I'm still eating, but I'm not going to eat too much.
In fact, when we started macros, we actually had to start eating more food.
Right.
But
So
right.
it just definitely
Right.
has to be realistic. That's a good idea. I wish my mom would have done that. That's a very good idea.
Alright.
So the other thing is we can't be accountable to others until we ask people who we love to check on us, to encourage us, and to challenge us. That's why we have to have a squad. That's why we have to have people who are in our corner who are going to help us. They have to hold us accountable, but we have to let them know we want to be held accountable.
I think that's a big one. And it doesn't have to be just one person. I mean, you can ask your whole group, you know, hey, if I'm talking too much during youth, stop me.
What?
And then they nudge you when you start talking too much,
Right?
right? So, but if you find that one thing you want to change, tell your squad and let them help you. Now make sure you pick the ones in your squad that aren't going to be mean and ugly about it. I think that's sort of a big thing. Because you have those friends that they'll tell you if you're doing something wrong, which is probably okay, but they're not nice
It's
about
not
how they do it.
helpful. It's not helpful.
They're doing it to be mean.
Right.
It
So-
might help you in the long run, but they're doing it in a mean way. Don't pick those people.
Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to do a rubber band exercise. You're not playing, do not shoot these rubber bands, you're holding on to the rubber bands. And we'll wait until everybody gets one so that we can continue. Grace, you're going to need to sit up. Understood. We're not throwing them, Mr. Ken. I just said we're not throwing them.
Disrespectful.
Lauren, you want to help pass them out? Maybe start there. Thank you.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Take it right that one.
Like another one of your
Don't snap it on your friends either.
You're not my
Nick,
friend with you.
Nick.
Travis, you're not my friend right now.
All right.
Take someone's eye like this. Oh my gosh! There goes the rubber.
Okay, everybody. Why are the rubber bands flying everywhere?
Zoom it over there. I just watched two.
This is what we're going to do on the rubber band. Your first instruction. What? One per row. We're going to pass around a marker on the rubber band, which means you cannot write large. You're going to have to write. The first word you're writing is something that you want to let go. Let go of. It could be fear. It could be pride. It could be anger. It could be gossip. It could be revenge. It could be anything that we've talked about. One word, but don't write it big because I'm going to have you write another word when we're done with this. So there's one marker coming around per row. One
If
word.
your row finishes, look. Yep, that's good, as long as you can read it.
One word that you want to let go of. Again, you could write.
No, no one else has to read it. This is for you.
No one's gonna. This is yours, and don't fling the rubber bands everywhere. This is, you could write anything like pride, fear, anger, gossip, revenge, any of those things.
So I was asked to make her write multiple things down. Pick one. Just one. 'Cause
One
if you
major
do too-
one.
If you do too much, then you'll never be able to take care of it. So just pick one.
Grace, do you want
You need
Destiny
help?
to write it for you? Just tell her the word that you want to write.
Yo, take the lead, you moron. You can take the pen. The boys.
Hold the rubber bands.
Because you're not done with this.
We're not done.
We're not done. This is only part one.
Did you girls get a marker?
Yes.
Jet.
All right, y'all are done.
Just one more word, that's it.
Macy, you think,
Get Tyler in the back of the head. What if you were just on the back of the head? So hurry.
Guys, don't flick each other with the rubber bands, please.
You're supposed to write something.
Okay, so as we're finishing up with that, this is what you need to think about when the marker comes back to you.
All right, hold
I
on.
need
Let's
your
get your
attention.
attention.
Boys in the back. You need to think about this while we're waiting for the marker to come back. The next word that you're writing on your rubber band is something that you want to grab onto, whether it be humility, forgiveness, kindness, or trust, or the words that we talked about, compassion, integrity, peacemaking, goodness, any of those words. That's the second word that's going on your rubber band. So you're going to have what you want to let go of and what you want to grab onto.
And if you have a pen right now, you can write both. You don't have to just do one word and then again.
You gotta make a banjo. I'll make them big.
No, you do that for
Chop the music. Cool. Oh, you
Yo, we gotta put a potato on Wait, okay.
Hey, what's the Yo, you gotta do We're trying to play music. Hey, it's not funny. Hey, yo.
Nathan, you have to get home.
Did you just barf?
No, I can't see them. Bro, I can't see it. I did all of that hard work. What are we writing on the thing? My comment section, basically? That's how you do yourself. They just grab like it's rated. Yo, what's my marker at? Yeah, they're part.
Nathan, you're like 5. That's enough.
Why are we so dumb? No, don't do that. What are you doing? Nathan, you moron. Pass it down. Hey, why do you have to swear?
Guys, you need to quickly write on the rubber band and then pass the pen along. Thank you.
Bro, they literally just press it back to the beginning. We're about to play with my kneecaps.
How we doing? Who all's done? Who has 2 words? It's brand new. Just for the spot. So here we go.
Where's the pen? Oh my god.
Jet, you don't need the pen.
Oh yeah, I don't need the pen. I just realized that.
I think the back row needs a marker.
Bro, speed up.
I think Brooke needs a marker. You got one? You got one? Okay. Is everyone finished?
Who still needs to finish? So just a couple? Okay.
It's just like spend mom's credit card on the book. No, you're give up and hang on. Or give up and grab it.
Give up the grab. Give up voting and grab. Are you playing the jam though?
All right, anyone need a pen?
Don't see it.
In the back.
Thank
In the
you.
back.
They like bro, we're the only ones that are in here. I just want
Can I see that next video?
I just want to kick you out the door. Because I'm amazing. When would it get ready, bro?
All right, so hold on. Let me get everyone's attention real quick. All right, who is not done? Who doesn't have their 2 words? All right, so we got 2 back there. All right, let's grab those so we can get them going. Don't yawn that big. You make me tired.
All right, so Nick, can you take that off your face, please? So for this week, there are 2 reasons why we really, really hope that you hold on to these rubber bands. I know you may not wear them, but we would really like for you to hold on to these rubber bands.
Go ahead and put them on your wrist.
Yummy and meals, right?
I jumped right back. So. All right, so take your rubber band, put it on your wrist.
My mom's gonna be so disappointed in me. You're putting this in your locker.
Okay, so there are 2 reasons why we really hope that you hold on to these rubber bands this week. They can be a visual reminder to you of the transformation that you want to see within yourself. So it can be just that visual representation that you need, that reminder that you have to have of what you're trying to transform into. It can also be an invitation for people that you trust, remember these are people that you trust, to help you continue growing, stretching, and becoming more like Jesus. If there's someone in this room who you'd like to invite to keep you accountable, don't leave today without talking to them. Remember, this is your squad.
It doesn't have to be a leader,
It does not have to be.
although it would make us feel really good, but it doesn't have to
But
be a
we're
leader.
not proud. You know, I'm not going to be proud. No.
We'd be happy if you picked somebody.
All right. So that's your rubber band. Keep that as a reminder for yourself.
We'll see if you're still wearing them next week.
So we're going to talk about stretching our faith again. And we have the 5 commitments that we talked about for the past 2 weeks. We're going to bring them up again. This is how we're going to try to stretch our faith. Even if you remember we filled this out last week, we did the poster boards for the past 2 weeks. Maybe there's something new that you want to think about, a new way that you want to commit to stretching your faith. So this is what we've been talking about, showing up, following Jesus, loving God, loving others, and asking questions. So, I'm sorry.
Oh, we're going to read them. So, okay. So I think we need our worship team to come on up.
So, no matter,
Hang on, guys.
we're not done. So no matter what you decided to let go of today, no matter what you wrote on that rubber band, remember this: if you want your faith to grow, if you want your faith to be strengthened, then it does not happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight, but it has to start somewhere. And it can start today with a simple stretch. You can stretch your faith by letting something go. So as the worship team is going to play, we can come up to the poster board and make a commitment of how we're going to stretch our faith this week.
Lord Jesus, help us through the rest of this week to realize that there are things we need to let go of, things that are holding us back from you. Let these bands that we've done on our arms remind us, use them as a reminder for us of what we need to let go and what we need to reach out for. May we have a great week. In your name we pray. Amen. Thank you, worship team. You guys have a mess up there. I'm gonna take over that. I do say we leave it for Mandy. Let her freak out. All right, some quick announcements. Leaders, this Friday we have a meeting, 6 o'clock here. Was that Miss Judy? Woo! All right. Fun Fridays. If you haven't written those down yet, you might want to take your phone out. So we got Fun Fridays. We got 3 Fun Fridays, October, November, December. So how many of you guys came to the last Fun Friday? What'd you guys think? It was last? All right. So, all right. We got it coming up soon. Yeah, it was fun throwing beach balls at you guys.
Yeah, I love Chelsea.
She did the same thing to Jada, right as she was getting the thing. I was laying in one of the rows in the back right when they started, and I was hiding the ball underneath, and I heard someone running by, and I just flipped it up real quick, and they slammed it. That was you? They hit you, dude, you hit it so hard the ball hit the back wall, and I was laying in the middle. All right, so Fun Fridays, we got 3 of them coming up, so plan. There are no home games those days, so no excuse there. All right, so I think, I don't know if they put stuff away, there might be some desserts laying out. So, all right, so everyone online, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. I saw people popping in, so we will catch you next Wednesday. All right, everybody, go get some grub, whatever's left over.